Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Our topic for today is word problems leading to quadratic equation. In our previous videos, we've worked on quadratic equation using the factorization method and completing the square method. For the sake of today's class, we'll be using the factorization method and formula method to solve the following word problems. If you're joining us for the first time, I'll be dropping the link to the previous videos at the description box below. Now let's start. So for today's class, we have 5 questions to solve. Question 1 and 2 has to do with numbers. Question 3 has to do with ages. Then question 4 and 5 has to do with shapes. Now let's solve the following question one at a time. I'll start with question number 1. For number 1, we have the product of two consecutive integers is 132. Find the two numbers. So here we are looking for the two numbers. So for this question, when we talk about consecutive integers, we're talking about integers that follow each other, one at a time. That means one after another. So if we're talking about 1, the next number after 1 should be 2. The next number after 2 should be 3. So these are consecutive numbers. It is progressing from the smallest to the biggest. So now here we have integers. So the integers here mean it could be positive number or negative number. But talking about negative numbers, we should be having -2, -1, 0, 1. That's from the smallest to the biggest. So the product of two consecutive integers is 132. So now that we've actually known what consecutive means and integer, the word integer, now that we know what it means, we should be able to bring out a mathematical expression for this question. We should be able to express this word problem in mathematical equation, then simplify it further to lead us to quadratic equation. Now the product here means we have to multiply two consecutive integers. So in mathematics, if we want to bring up consecutive numbers, we have to use this. The first number should be denoted as n. Now let the second number be denoted as n plus 1 because it is progressing one at a time. Like from one number, it progresses to the next number, not skipping because it says two consecutive integers. So meaning we have to progress from one small number to the next number to the next number to get to the larger ones. So if the first number, let us assume the first number is 2. After 2, the next consecutive number should be 3. After 3, the next consecutive number should be 4. So me using this term n and n plus 1 to denote the two numbers is actually correct because if the first number is 2, which is n, so meaning n plus 1, 2 plus 1 is going to give us 3. Now let's assume the first number is 4. So n comma n plus 1 will be 4 comma 4 plus 1. So 4 plus 1 is what? 5. So after 4 we have 5. So we can use n and n plus 1 to denote the two consecutive integers. Now let's go back to the word problem. It says the product of two consecutive integers. So the product, meaning we have to multiply these two numbers together. Now if we multiply these numbers together, we'll get 132. Now find these two numbers. So after we've expressed this, now let's express this in mathematical terms. N bracket n plus 1. Remember, bracket means to multiply. So n bracket n plus 1 is equal to 132. So now I'm going to express what we have in the bracket. I need to clear that bracket. N times n gives us n squared. N times plus 1 gives us plus n. And then we'll have all equal to 132. So now I've been able to clear this bracket, this product. We've been able to clear it and it gave us n squared plus n equals to 132. Now we'll move to expressing this. I want it to have the format of a quadratic equation. You know, quadratic equation format is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So we need to equate this equation to 0. So that's where I'm going to bring in 132. I'm going to take it inside and equate this to 0. So if number 132 goes inside, like crosses the equation sign, it turns to minus. So now we'll have n squared plus n. 132 is coming inside. It becomes minus 132, all equal to 0. So now this is a quadratic equation. This is a quadratic equation because we can relate this format to what we have here. AS square can stand for this n square, which is 1n square, plus the bx here could be 1n, then c is minus 132. So I can erase this. Now that the equation has led us to quadratic equation, I'll be using the factorization method to solve this. And how do we use the factorization method? It says multiply the first variable to the third variable. I'm going to multiply n squared by minus 132. And whatever we get, we look for the factors. That's two factors that whenever we add them or subtract them, we'll be able to get the middle number, which is plus n. So let's say n squared times minus 132 will give us minus 132n squared. So I'm going to look for two factors that if I multiply them, it will give me back minus 132n squared. But if I add or subtract, I must get plus n. I must get this plus n here. So now let's start by looking for two factors. And we should remember the rule of sign, which says plus times minus will give us minus, or minus times plus will give us minus. So since we have a minus sign for the number 132n squared, since we have a minus sign, meaning the two factors we get, one of them will carry plus and the other one will carry minus, or the right one will carry minus and the left one will carry plus, whichever way. So one of the numbers will definitely be a plus sign and the second number will be a minus sign because of we have minus 132n squared here. So now we'll start from the smallest number and then we'll progress till we get the number that will give us plus n. So let's start. 1n times 132n. This is going to give us 132n squared. So I can decide to put a plus sign or minus here, or put a plus or minus here. So if I decide to put plus here, so let's say plus 1n minus 132n, it will give us minus 131n. And if I decide to put a minus here, and put a plus here, I'll be getting minus 1n plus 132n, which is going to give me 131n. So which is a no. Now let's move to the next. 2n times 66n is going to give us 132. So let's put a plus here and a minus here. Plus 2n minus 66 is going to give me minus 64n. And if I decide to put minus for 2n and put a plus for 66, it's going to give me 64n. So this is also not going to give us plus n. Now let's move to another one. If I use 3n times 44n, add them together, I will get plus here, minus here. So plus 3n minus 44 will give me minus 41n, which is not even close to n plus n. So now I'll move to 6n times 22n. This is also not going to give me what I want. So let me use 11n times 12n. 11n times 12n will give me 132n squared. So now if I decide to put either plus or minus, let's put plus for 11. Plus and then put minus here. Plus 11n minus 12n gives me minus n. But what I'm looking for is plus n. So meaning this sign will not work. So I have to erase this sign and then change it. So let's put minus for 11 and plus for 12. So minus 11n times plus 12n. Remember, it's going to give us minus 132n squared. Now, minus 11n plus 12n. If I bring them together like a linear equation, minus 11n plus 12n will give me plus n. Minus 11n plus 12n will give me plus n. So now that we've been able to get to this point, this is what I'm going to use. This one actually works well for us. This works well for us. So I can erase this rule of sign here. Now, so the next thing we have to do, we are going to rewrite this question, n squared, and then replace this plus n. We are going to replace it with minus 11n plus 12n. So here we have n squared minus 11n plus 12n. Then we have minus 132 equal to 0. So if you look closely, we've been able to use this to replace plus n. We've been able to use that to replace plus n. So the next thing I have to do is to group these numbers together. I need to group this number together. So I'm grouping it in twos. N squared minus 11n and then plus 12n minus 132 equal to 0. So I'm grouping this in two. I'll take this and this together, and I'll take this and this together. So n squared minus 11n, what is common? I'm going to factorize. That's factor out what is common. So n squared minus 11n, we have n to be common of both numbers, as in both values. N squared, n is common here. For 11n, n is common. So I'm going to bring out n from this. So n into brackets, then we'll have n minus 11. N times n is n squared. N times minus 11 is minus 11n. Then we'll have plus. For this place, 12 is common. I'm going to factor out 12 because I can get 12 in 12n, and I can also get 12 in 132. So I'll bring out 12, then in a bracket, n minus 11. So if we are to multiply them back, 12 times n is 12n. 12 times minus 11 will give us minus 132. Remember to equate all to 0. So because we have n minus 11 here and we also have n minus 11 here, they are the same thing. So I'm going to pick one of them. I'm going to pick one of them and then bring these two together. N and plus 12, I'm going to bring them together. N and plus 12, I'm going to bring them together. Then n minus 11 and n minus 11, I'll just pick one. So I'll have n minus 11, then n plus 12 equal to 0. So I'm going to split this. N minus 11 equal to 0 or n plus 12 equal to 0. So if I solve this, n should be equal to 0. When minus 11 crosses equation sign, I'll have plus 11. Then or n equal to 0. When plus 12 crosses equation sign, I'll have minus 12. So my answer is n equal to 11 or n is equal to minus 12. N is equal to 11 or n is equal to minus 12. So the question there says two consecutive integers. The two consecutive integers are, I'm going to be working with one of this, n equals to 11. Then I will now work with n equals to minus 12. I'm going to work with it one at a time. So when n is equals to 11, since we got two answers, when n is equal to 11, the two consecutive integers there are n, comma, n plus 1. So n is equal to 11, then n plus 1, which is going to give us 11 plus 1, 11 plus 1. So it is 11, comma, 11 plus 1 is what? 12. So the consecutive integers is 11 and 12. Our consecutive integers is 11 and 12. But like I said, integers means negative or positive numbers. So now let's work with the negative, or n equals to minus 12. So we also got n to be equals to minus 12. So now n, comma, n plus 1 is going to be, n is what? Minus 12. Then n plus 1 will be minus 12 plus 1. So minus 12, comma, minus 12 plus 1 will give us minus 11. So if you notice, this is also consecutive integers because it's progressed from the smallest to the biggest. Minus 12 is smaller than minus 11. So it progressed from minus 12 to minus 11. This is also two consecutive integers. And 11, comma, 12 is also two consecutive integers because it progressed from the smallest to the biggest. So our answer is minus 12 and 11 or 11 and 12. So we can actually check to know if we'll get the same answer. So the question there says the product of two consecutive integers is 132. Find the two numbers. So now that we've gotten the two numbers, let's multiply them to know if we can get 132. So 11 times 12 is 132. Minus 12 times minus 11 is 132. So our answer is correct. Now let's move to question number 2. So for question number 2, we have find two consecutive odd numbers whose product is 195. So for the previous question we solved, we have consecutive integers. That means the number progress from 1 to 2, 3 to 4, like one step at a time, one number before the second one. But here we are having odd numbers. If that consecutive integers, we had n, n plus 1 to represent those numbers. For odd numbers, we are going to be using n, n plus 2. In mathematics, for either odd or even number, we use n, n plus 2 to represent word problem. In the sense that, remember, odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7. So if I decide to replace this number with one odd number, let's assume n, n plus 2. Let's assume n is 5. So if I write 5 here, then 5 plus 2 should give me 7. So after 5, the next odd number is 7. Let's try 1, n, n plus 2. N should be 1, then 1 plus 2 will give us 3. So after 1, the next odd number is 3. So we can use n, n plus 2 to represent the two consecutive odd numbers whose product is 195. So n, n plus 2. Now it says the two consecutive odd numbers whose product, so meaning we have to multiply them together to get 195. N bracket n plus 2 is going to give us 195. Now we have to clear this bracket. N times n gives us n squared. Then we'll have n times 2n gives us plus 2n, now all equal to 195. So now that I've been able to get to this point, we have to represent this number to be in the format of quadratic equation. So meaning I'm going to take this 195 and bring it inside. So since it's a positive number, if it's crossing the equation sign, it's going to change to minus. So we have n squared plus 2n minus 195, which is going to give us 0. So the next thing, I'm going to be using the factorization method. So for the factorization method, I have to multiply the first value and the last value together. If I multiply them together, I'll be getting minus 195n squared. So I have to look for the factors that when I multiply them together, I will get minus 195n squared. But if I add or subtract, I must get plus 2n. Now let's start with the first number. So 1n times 195n. If I add or subtract, I cannot get plus 2n. So now let's move forward to the next one. Let's try 3n times 65n. If I add or subtract, I cannot get 2n. So let's just put our sign so that it will actually be giving us minus 195. Plus times minus or minus times plus must give us what? Minus sign. So now let's move to the next number. We have 5n times 39n. If I add or subtract, I will not get plus 2n. Check it out. Minus 5n, then plus 39. Minus 5n plus 39 will give me plus 34n, which is not 2n. So now let's try out the next possible one. We'll have 13n and 15n. 13n and 15n. If I add them together or subtract them, one of them must actually have a plus and the other one must have a minus. So let's put minus here and put plus here. Minus 13n plus 15n. More like saying 15n minus 13n. It's going to give me plus 2n. It's going to give me plus 2n. So meaning this plus 2n, we've gotten a replacement for it. So minus 13n plus 15n can replace 2n. So now let's move forward. We'll have n squared. So plus 2n has gotten a replacement, which is minus 13n plus 15n. Then we'll have our minus 195 equal to 0. Take note of this, that this one has been replaced by this. So the next thing we'll have to do is to group these numbers in two. So n squared minus 13n plus 15n minus 195 equal to 0. I'm going to be grouping them in twos. So now I need to factor out what is common for the both brackets. So for the first bracket, n squared minus 13n, we have n to be common. So I'm going to factor out that n. Then what do we have? n squared divided by n is n, minus 13n divided by n is 13. So I'll move to the next bracket. We'll have plus, so 15n minus 195. 15 is common. So I'm going to bring out that 15, and then in the bracket, 15n divided by 15 is n. Then minus 195 divided by plus 15 is minus 13. So all equal to 0. So now that we've been able to get minus n minus 13 in the bracket, we have to pick one because these two are the same. So for factorization method of solving quadratic equation, if these two are the same, we are going to pick one, and they must be the same. If they are not the same, that means the factorization method cannot work. You have to try other method. So but here it's working. So the next one we are going to work together, we are going to bring n plus 15 together. N plus 15, we must bring it together. So let's have n minus 13 brackets, then we are going to bring the next one, n plus 15. They are all equal to 0. So I'm going to split this. N minus 13 is equal to 0, or n plus 15 is equal to 0. Let's erase this. We no longer need this. So now that we arrive at this point, we have to simplify further to get the value of n. So this becomes n equal to 0. When minus 13 crosses equation sign, it becomes plus 13. So plus 13, or for the next one, n equal to 0. When plus 15 crosses equation sign, it becomes minus 15. Then n is equal to 0 plus 13 is 13, or n is equal to 0 minus 15 gives us minus 15. So now we've been able to get two separate answers for n. We have 13 and we also have minus 15. So now let's work with the first one. You know we are looking for n comma n plus 2, two consecutive integers. So when n is equal to 13, the first consecutive integer should be n comma n plus 2, which is n is what? 13 comma n plus 2 is 13 plus 2. So our answer is 13 comma 13 plus 2 is what? 15. So the consecutive numbers are 13 and 15. Let's stop here. We're not going to work with the negative one. I have my reason. You can decide to work with it. Then you'll be getting minus 15 and minus 13. But here we'll have odd numbers, not integers. You know, integers has to do with positive and negative numbers. But here we'll have numbers. So let us work with the counting numbers. Let's not work with the negative. So the consecutive odd numbers are 13 and 15. Remember how we got it? N comma n plus 2. So since n is 13, meaning I worked with just this one. Since n is equal to 13, the answer is 13 comma 13 plus 2, which is 13 comma 15. So now if we check them and multiply them together, 13 times 15 will give us 195. So the answer for question number 2 is correct. Now let's move to question number 3. For question number 3, we'll have a woman is 4 times older than her child. 5 years ago, the product of their age was 175. Find their present age. So a woman is 4 times older than her child. So the first thing we have to take note here is, how old is the child? Since she is 4 times older than that child. So I'll start by saying her child, the woman's child, should be, let's call it X. The woman's child should be X. Now, how old is this woman? It says a woman is 4 times older. 4 times. So if a child is X, the woman's age is 4 times X. So meaning the woman is 4x. Because 4 times x will give us 4x. Now it went further and said 5 years ago. 5 years ago means minus 5. Meaning if presently I am 10 years and I want to tell you 5 years ago. 5 years ago means 10 minus 5, which will give me 5 years. So if I am 20 years, 5 years ago means 20 minus 5, which is going to give me 15 years. So now I have the child age to be x and I have the mother's age to be 4x. So 5 years ago means we should subtract 5 from their age. So 5 years ago, her child age become x minus 5, meaning our age subtract 5. Then the woman's own become 4x minus 5. So this is 5 years ago. So it says 5 years ago, the product of their age was 175. So we're going to be working with the product of their age 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, we got for the child to be x minus 5, and we got for the woman to be 4x minus 5. So the product of these two age will give us 175. So after we express this and get a quadratic equation, we should find their present age. So the child is x minus 5, the product times the mother's age, which is 4x minus 5. So the product of these two age gives us 175. So I'm going to expand this to clear the bracket. X times 4x gives us 4x squared. X times minus 5 gives us minus 5x. Minus 5 times 4x gives us minus 20x. And the last one, minus 5 times minus 5 gives us plus 25. Then we'll have equal to 175. So I'm going to bring in 175 inside. I'm going to bring it inside. And then after I bring 175 inside, I need to work with this like term. They are like terms, so we need to subtract them or add them together. So now we'll have 4x squared minus 5x minus 20x is minus 25x, and then we'll have plus 25 minus 175 that crosses the equation sign, all equal to 0. So we have 4x squared minus 25x minus 150 equal to 0. So I'm going to be using, let's use the factorization method also. So this times this will give me minus 600x squared. Minus 600x squared. So I wouldn't be wasting our time. I'll just bring out the two factors I'll work out for us. So the two factors I'll work here is 15x and 40x. 15 times 40 is 600. 15 times 40 is 600. So I'm going to put a plus sign here and a minus sign here because plus times minus must give us minus. Then 15x, that's plus 15x times minus 40x is minus 600x. So if I work with these two together, 15x minus 40x will replace 25x. So we've gotten a replacement. Minus 25x will be replaced by plus 15x minus 40x. So now that I've been able to get a replacement, I would love us to just rewrite this as minus 40x plus 15x. It is the same thing. It is the same thing with plus 15x minus 40x. So I just want to rewrite it as minus 40x plus 15x so that we'll be able to replace this minus 25. The reason I'm actually rearranging this, so we don't get a minus at this side. Let's come here. So we don't get a minus here because if we get a minus this place, it will be very tricky for us to work with this bracket. So now let's just rearrange it so that plus will be at the other side of the bracket. So now let's replace. We have 4x squared minus 40x plus 15x minus 150 equal to 0. So the next thing we have to do is to group this in twos. So this is the purpose I actually rearranged so that we don't get a minus sign here. If we get a minus sign here, some of us might actually find it difficult to work with this bracket. So now let's do it this way. Now we've actually grouped this in twos. We have to bring out what is common. For the first one, 4x is common. Let's erase this first and then divide this in twos. So for the first one, 4x is common. So when I bring 4x out, I'll be left with x minus 10. So for the other part of the fraction, 15 is common. So I'm going to bring out 15. So I'll have plus 15 in a bracket, x minus 10, all equal to 0. So now let's confirm this. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times minus 10 is minus 40x. The next bracket, 15 times x is 15x. Then 15 times minus 10 is minus 150. So now that we'll have the same thing here, I'm going to pick one. And then I'll bring these two together. So I'm going to have x minus 10. and then 4x plus 15 all equal to 0. So I'm going to split this. X minus 10 is equal to 0, or 4x plus 15 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 plus 10. That is when minus 10 crosses equation sign. Or here I'm going to have 4x equal to 0 minus 15 when plus 15 crosses equation sign. So our x is equal to 0 plus 10 will give us 10. Or 4x equal to 0 minus 15 is minus 15. Now I'm looking for just the value of x. I will divide both sides by 4. When I divide both sides by 4, our value for x is equal to minus 15 over 4. So you will notice something about this answer. The first one is 10. The second one is minus 15 over 4. Now, for age, when we are working with the age of someone, our age can never be in fraction, neither can it be negative. Our age can never be fraction, neither can it be negative. So now that we've been able to get it to this point, now let's look for the age of these two. So they said find their present age. You remember their present age is our child is equal to x. So the child age is equals to x. And what is x? 10. So the child age is 10 years. Now for the woman is 4x. 4x means 4 times 10, which is going to give us 40 years. So the woman's age is 40 and the child age is 10. So I hope you understand what happened here. We cannot use x equal to minus 15 over 4 because it is fraction and also because it is negative. The age of women, human, children, and the youth and old, we cannot express it as a negative. Someone's age cannot be minus 4 years old. Someone's age cannot be minus 100 years old. It has to be positive. And for number's sake, we have to express the age in whole number, not fraction. So we are going to be working with only s equal to 10. And s equal to 10, remember our child, we expressed it as x. So the value for x is what? 10. So meaning our child is 10 years. And the mom is 4x. So 4 times x, which is 4 times 10, gives us 40 years. So now let's move to question number 4. For question number 4, we have the length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters more than its breadth. Before we can actually go further, let's draw a rectangle. So we'll be working with the diagram. This is a rectangle. So since this is a rectangle, it says the length of a rectangle, this is the length, the longest side of a rectangle is the length, is 5 centimeters more. 5 centimeters more, meaning 5 centimeters plus whatever the width is. It says 5 centimeters more than its width. So whatever the width is, it should be 5 centimeters more. So let's say the width is y. Let's say the width is y. So meaning the length should be y plus 5 centimeters. Y plus 5 centimeters, because it says 5 centimeters more than its width. And the area is 50 centimeters square. The area of this shape is 50 centimeters square. Now find the length, width, and perimeter. Find the length, width, and perimeter. So for we to be able to solve this particular question, since we've been able to bring out what the length should be and the width, for we to now get the quadratic equation, like for we to be able to bring up a quadratic equation from this expression, we need to introduce the area of a rectangle. We need to introduce the formula. What is the formula for area of rectangle? Area of rectangle is equal to length times width. Some call it length times breadth. The breadth is also the width. So the area of a rectangle is length times width. Now what is the length? What is the width? The length here is y plus 5 times the width. The width is what? Y. All equal to, what is the area? The area of this shape is 50 centimeters square. So I hope you get what happened here. The length times width. The length is y plus 5. The width is y equal to 50. We are working with the shape. The length is y plus 5. The width is y. So if we multiply them together from the area of a rectangle, which is length times width, the area is already given in the question, which is 50 centimeter square. So just like we've been expanding others, we're going to expand this bracket so that it will lead us to a quadratic equation. So y times y is y squared. 5 times y is plus 5y. Then we'll have equal to 50. I'm going to bring the 50 inside, so we'll get a quadratic equation. For the first three questions, we've been working with the factorization method. But for this number 4 and probably number 5, which is the last question for this class, we're going to be using the formula method. And what is the formula method? For this question, the letter we'll have here is what? Y. We worked with y. So our y should be equal to the formula, which is minus b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is the formula for quadratic equation. Minus b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So for we to get the value of the ABC in this formula, we are going to be working with the coefficient of the equation we'll have now. So we have y squared. The coefficient of y squared is 1. So y squared represents our a. Working with this, as squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So a is the coefficient of s squared, and here we have y squared. So the coefficient of y squared is 1. So therefore, a is equal to 1. Then b is equal to, what's the coefficient of x? X here, we represent our letter here with y. So the coefficient of y is 5. So, and then c is equal, so c is equals to, we have minus 50. So now we're going to be using the formula method. So y is equal to minus, what is the value for b? B is 5. So minus b plus or minus root. B is also 5 again. B squared, which is 5 squared minus 4. The value for a is 1 and the value for c is minus 50. So all over 2a. 2a, a is what? 1. So what I did here, we actually substituted the value for a, b, c. We substituted it into the formula. So now we have y equals to minus 5 plus or minus square root. 5 square is 25. Then we'll have minus 4 times 1. Minus 4 times 1 is minus 4. Now minus 4 times minus 50 is plus 200. Plus 200 all over 2a. 2a is what? 2 times 1, which is 2. So the y is equals to minus 5 plus or minus 25 plus 200 is 225 all over 2. Y is equals to minus 5 plus or minus. The square root of 225 is 15. So 15 all over 2. So we have to split this. Y is equals to minus 5 plus 15 over 2, or minus 5 minus 15 over 2. So let's see it. Minus 5 plus 15. This is from the plus or minus. Minus 5 plus or minus 15. So that's how I split it as minus 5 plus 15 over 2, or minus 5 minus 15 all over 2. So now our y is equals to minus 5 plus 15 is plus 10. So 10 over 2, or y is also equal to minus 5 minus 15 is minus 20. So minus 20 all over 2. So therefore, the answer for y is 10 over 2 is 5, or minus 20 over 2 is minus 10. Now we are working with shape. A rectangle. A rectangle can never be in negative, meaning that minus 10, we're not going to be working with minus 10. So we're going to only pick y to be equals to 5, because the length or width of a shape cannot be in negative. So therefore, the width which is equal to y is equals to 5 centimeter. And then the length there says y plus 5 centimeter, which is equal to 5 plus 5 centimeter is going to give us 10 centimeter. Now the question says find the length. We've gotten the length as 10 centimeter. Find the width. The width is 5 centimeter. Then the perimeter. So the perimeter of a shape of a rectangle. Perimeter of a rectangle is 2 into bracket length times width. 2 bracket length times width. So 2 into bracket. What is the length? We got 10 centimeter. And what is the width? We got 5 centimeter. So now our answer is 2 bracket 10 plus 5 is 15 centimeter times 2, which is going to give us 30 centimeter. So now we've been able to get the length, width, and perimeter. The length is 10 centimeter, the width is 5 centimeter, and the perimeter is 30 centimeter. Now let's move to the last question on this video, which is question number 5. The 3 sides of a right-angled triangle. Now we're working with another shape. The 3 sides of a right-angled triangle. Let's draw a right-angled triangle. This is a right-angled triangle. So the 3 sides of a right-angled triangle are x, x plus 1, and 5. Now find x and the area if the longest side is 5. This is the longest side of a right-angled triangle. This is the longest side of a right-angled triangle. So that longest side is 5. Now we're going to place x and x plus 1 somewhere. So we can actually put x here. So let x be here. Then let x plus 1 be here. So you can try to put them anyway because we are not told which side should be the opposite or the adjacent, but we are given the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right angle triangle. So it is denoted that the longest side should be 5 centimeters. Now we are looking for the value of x and we are looking for the area of this triangle. Now, before we can actually get the value of x, what is the best way to bring up an equation? So the best way we can get an equation from this shape is to introduce the Pythagoras theorem. Now, what is the formula for the Pythagoras theorem? It says hypotenuse square is equal to opposite square plus adjacent square. Opposite square plus adjacent square. Now, what is our hypotenuse? Our hypotenuse here is 5. So now we have 5 square equal to the opposite. We can actually use anyone for opposite or anyone for adjacent because we are not given an angle that will tell us which side should be the opposite or adjacent. So for the opposite, let's make it of x. So now we'll have s square plus, we'll have x plus 1 square for our adjacent. So now we'll have 5 square equal to s square plus, we have to clear this bracket. And how do we clear it? It says x plus 1 square, which means x plus 1 twice. So I'm going to clear that bracket. 5 square is equal to s square plus, this is s times s, which is s square. Then we have x times 1, which is plus x. Then we'll have 1 times x, which is plus x. And then we'll have 1 times 1, which is plus 1. So our answer is 5 square equals to x square plus x square plus x times s will give us 2x plus 1. So now that we've been able to expand x plus 1 square, which gave us s square plus 2x plus 1, these two are like term. We need to actually add them together, then simplify this to give us a quadratic equation. So let's start with 5 square. 5 square is 25. 25 is equal to s square plus s square is 2s square, then plus 2x plus 1. So 25 needs to go into the equation so that it will be equated to 0. So 2x square plus 2x plus 1 minus 25 equal to 0. 2x square plus 2x minus 24 equal to 0. So for this also, I'll be working with the formula method. So the coefficient of A here is what? 2. B is also 2. Then C is minus 24. Remember the formula. So here we're working with x. So x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now we have to substitute the value of a, b, c in this formula. X is equals to minus b is what? 2. Minus 2 plus or minus root 2 square minus 4 into bracket. A is 2 and c is minus 24. Close the bracket. All over 2a. A is 2, so which is 2 times 2. So now we have x equal to minus 2 plus or minus root 2 square is 4. So minus 4 times 2. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. Now minus 8 times minus 24. Minus 8 times minus 24 is going to give me plus 192. Plus 192 all over 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. So now we have x is equal to minus 2 plus or minus root. Let's check. Here we have square root of 4 plus 192. So s squared is equals to minus 2 plus or minus root 4 plus 192 will give us 196 all over 4. 196 all over 4. So x is equals to minus 2 plus or minus square root of 196 is 14 all over 4. So x is equal to minus 2 plus 14 over 4 or minus 2 minus 14 all over 4. So x is equals to minus 2 plus 14 is 12 over 4 or minus 2 minus 14 is minus 16 over 4. So the value for x is equal to 12 over 4 gives us 3 or minus 16 over 4 is minus 4. So for the sake of shape, the size of a triangle can never be negative. So meaning we're not going to be working with minus 4. We're going to be working with s equal to 3. Let's go back to the question. So now that we've been able to get s to be equals to 3. So x is 3. Then this side, which is s plus 1, is 3 plus 1, which is going to give us 4. So let's have it here as the side of a triangle. We've been able to get the size of a triangle as, so remember the question gave us 5, and now we got x, which is equal to 3, x plus 1, which is equal to 3 plus 1, that is 4. Let's just leave it as 4, no centimeter. They didn't give us any units for this. So now the question there says, find x and the area. So we've been able to get s, which is equal to 3. Now the area. So therefore, x is equal to 3. Now area of a triangle. Area of a triangle is equal to half base times height. Half base times height. So 1 over 2 times the base. What is the base of this shape? The base of this shape is x plus 1, which is 4. So 4 times the height. The height here is this place. So the height is 3. Now I'm going to say 2 here, 1. 2 in 4 is 2. Now we have 2 times 3 left. So 2 times 3 is going to give us 6. So 6, let us give it a unit. So let's say 6 centimeter square. 6 centimeter square. 6 centimeter square. So the reason I actually gave it a unit, so we'll be able to square the unit. The question did not actually come with a unit. So it says the 3 sides of a right angle triangle are x, x plus 1, and 5. Find x and the area if the longest side is 5. So there's no unit. So I actually added a unit there so we can be able to square the unit because of the area we just looked for. So find the area of the shape. So now I've been able to get the answer for question number 5, which is the last question in this video. If If you joined us till this point, thank you very much for your time. And if you love what we are doing, please don't forget to like, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified when we drop a new video. And please comment. Drop a comment in the comment section and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Thank you very much for joining me in today's class. See you in my next class. Bye.